The future moves fast. The AvePoint Shift Happens podcast is your edge, where leaders unpack AI, data, modern work, and the mindset shifts that turn change into advantage. Hear what top innovators are trying next and how to make it work. Visit avpt.co/shift today.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, I want to share with you some thoughts on a conversation that I had just a couple of days ago with one of my podcast homies, good friend of the show, J Boog. From the J Spot Network, JSPN, J's Quick 3. She's all the J's. Listen, fellow podcaster, you guys know her on Twitter, J Boog, and she's, like I said, she's been on here several times, and I've been on her podcast several times, and like I said, just that's the homie. Again, good friend of the show. I can't remember if I think, you know what, we were texting. That's what it was. We were texting, and somehow one of us made reference about having cell phones and social media in the 90s. And we laughed, and you know what, after a couple of minutes of the conversation, I was like, you know what, Jay? That's a podcast. Because I think it's a very interesting concept when you think about it. Because here's the thing. If you lived through the 90s like I did, right? If you were outside during the 90s like I was, it was a great time. Like, I tell people all the time, like, at the time of this recording, I'm about to turn 52, right? So when the 90s happened, I literally went from graduating high school in 1991 to graduating college at South Carolina State University in 1996 to becoming a father in 1999 for the first time and becoming a husband in 2000. So in a 10-year span, like, I hit major milestones in life, right? And there was a lot of experiences along the way. And so if you follow me or you follow this podcast, you know that I talk about the 90s all the time because the 90s was a great time. And to me, it is still mind-boggling, that the 90s literally were like 30 years ago. And the reason why I say that is because, like, it doesn't feel like it's been 30 years because I literally can tap into the 90s at any given moment and it feels like yesterday. Whether it be the clothes, the style, the slang, the music, the places. So I'm very nostalgic when it comes to the 90s. And I'll always be that way. I think it was a great decade. It was a great run for your boy, to put it lightly. But the conversation that J Boog and I had really just kind of, we laughed about it, but I wanted to share with you guys just some of the things that we talked about, some of the ideas and concepts that we discussed. Because here's the thing. If you're someone that's my age, or let's just say 35 plus, you were probably in the last generation of people who lived without the internet, at least lived their formative years and maybe their teen years and young adulthood without the internet. And for some, you know, that's kind of hard to fathom. Like, how did you guys live without the internet? And it's interesting because like for a lot of us, we didn't need it. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I benefit from the internet. Many of you would have never probably seen me or heard of me had you not followed me on some social media platform or you stumbled upon this podcast. With that being said, I think like the 90s was just a dope time. And, you know, you don't necessarily miss something, if you will, or you think that you would have needed it because you lived life without it. And so for us, it's quite simple. You know, excuse me. I don't think we would have been bad off if we never had the internet. Because again, we lived so long without it. So it definitely enhanced things. But it also, you know, made life a little bit more complicated, if you will. It enhanced things for the better in some ways. But, you know, the internet, more specifically cell phones and social media, definitely opened up some lanes that we weren't used to being in. It definitely opened up some lanes that we weren't used to traveling in. And you had to make certain adjustments along the way. Because here's the thing, once the internet, and more specifically social media and cell phones got here, they were here to stay. There's not anybody that doesn't move around without this in their hand or their pocket or their pocketbook. And what I'm holding up for those of you watching on YouTube is my iPhone. I don't move without mine. My phone is normally somewhere nearby. If it's not in my hand, it's probably in my pocket, you know. But there was a time where, you know, I could really move around and really be cool and not have it on me or because it didn't exist. And so based on what Jay Boog and I talked about, I wanted to share some things comically of how, you know, we got along and got around and just kind of kicked around the idea of if we had cell phones and social media in the 90s, what would have happened? Here's one thing. Obviously having a cell phone and social media gives people access to you, right? And for some, it's not a problem. For others, it was an adjustment because you're not used to someone being able to contact you at any given time. Because here's the thing. In the 90s, once you left the crib, nobody knew where you were unless you told them. But you could leave the crib and literally go to the moon. As long as you were back by the time the street lights came on, it was cool. Nobody cared. People care, but I say it all the time, and I know I've said it on this podcast before. Like, I don't think my parents, excuse me, my parents really knew how far I could go on my bike. And when I think about, you know, growing up in my hometown of Florence, South Carolina, I went everywhere on my bike. Me and my friends, we would always just ride around. And it, you know, as I gotten older now, look at it, I'm like, yo, we were 5-10 miles, maybe not 10 miles, but we were like 5, 6, 7 miles away from home. And nobody cared. Nobody came looking for you. You were just out. But yeah, that was one thing. Nobody could contact you once you left the crib. You literally could go anywhere. I remember, and if you've been following me and following the podcast, I had an episode where I talked about my first trip to Atlanta to Freaknik. If you're not familiar, go back and listen to that episode. It is hilarious. One of the funniest episodes that I've ever done. But I began the episode by telling you what I shared with my mom. I told my mom, and again, I didn't ask. I didn't say, hey, can I get your permission to go? But I was in college at South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And I told my mom, I said, hey, I'm going to Atlanta this weekend. And she said, oh, yeah, well, what are you going to Atlanta for? I was like, I'm going for Freaknik. And she was like, well, what is Freaknik? And I couldn't really tell her what it was because honestly, I had not gone. So I didn't know. And so I was like, well, it's kind of like Woodstock, but for black kids, for black college kids. And that's basically what I told her. I mean, like, I couldn't tell her all of what it entailed because I couldn't put it into words because, I had never been, I had only heard stories. Now, once I went the first year in 1994, I could tell her what Freaknik really was. But honestly, I was never going to tell her what happened at Freaknik. But yeah, you literally could go anywhere. So here's the thing. When I left on that April afternoon on Friday to go to Atlanta to go to Freaknik, like I didn't call my mom to say, hey, Mom, I made it to Atlanta. There was no text message. I could not send a text to her to say, hey, I'm here. Here's the thing. I could have called her collect. Shout out to Collect Calls. I could have called her collect to say, hey, I'm here, but I wasn't going to do that. And so like, I went to Freaknik, and while she knew that I wasn't on my campus at South Carolina State University, she didn't know where I was. And so nobody knew where I was that weekend. Only my friends knew that I was at Freaknik. And for those who I left on campus, they knew that I was going to Atlanta for Freaknik. For the others, there were some that I knew, that knew I was in Atlanta, and they were in Atlanta too, and we didn't see each other. I mean, because what was I going to do? There was no cell phone for me to text and say, hey, I'm at Lenox Mall. Come through. It's a bunch of fine women here. I couldn't do that. I couldn't send out a tweet saying, hey, we're at Piedmont Park. It's jumping out here. I'm watching Snoop perform live. Hey, I'm on Piedmont Road and there's everybody smoking weed, including 3 people that are standing right next to Atlanta police officers, and the cops aren't saying nothing. I couldn't tweet that out because there were no cell phones and there was no social media. So that was one of the benefits of, not having cell phones and social media in the 90s. I distinctly remember when I was in high school and when I got to college, one of my best friends, my boy Jay Fresh, shout out to Fresh, back home in Florence, Fresh literally lived around the corner from me, right? So a lot of times, and here's the thing, like, I never had a curfew, right? Never had a curfew. My mom always said, just come in at a respectable hour. Whatever the respectable hour is, you got to figure that out. And so, like, I never wanted her to be up worrying or anything like that, but never had a curfew, right? So there would be times where I would say, hey, Mom, I'm going to Jay Fresh's crib. And it wasn't a lie because, like, I would always ultimately end up at his crib. But I probably went like 7 other places before I ended up at Fresh's crib. And so, like, I distinctly remember one time I was in college at the time, and man, I left the crib at and my mom, old school Southern parents, they have this thing like, and it's something I get it now as a parent, like, you really don't need to be leaving the house past 11. I mean, like, if you're out, then that's one thing. If you're out and it's 8:00 and then, you come home at 2, okay, cool. But you shouldn't, if you're in the house at 11:00, what are you leaving for? I mean, now, as an adult, looking back on it, it looked very inconspicuous now. And she ain't say nothing. But, like, if you leaving out at 11:00, come on, son. We know what you're doing. We know where you're going. You're going, out, and you're going to sniff around, if you will. And so I distinctly remember telling her, like, okay, I'm going to Jay Fresh. It was like 11:30. It was damn near midnight. I was like, I'm going to Jay Fresh Chris. So she was cool. She knew where I was. I was around the corner. And so that's what it was. I wasn't nowhere near Jay Fresh's crib. You know where I was? Never mind. So I said all that to say this. If I had a cell phone, if it's 1:30, she could call or text, hey, where are you? That type of thing. No cell phones. You can't get in contact with me. You can't find me until I walk through the door. It was a beautiful thing. You again, nobody could contact you. And I could be at Jay Fresh's crib and I could tweet out a picture of us, working on some music in his room. Or I could tweet out a hamburger at McDonald's, which is where I could have been. But I could have, sent out a text or put out a tweet saying where I was and what I was doing. But why would I ever self-snitch on myself? But I digress. What else? Here's the thing. If we had cell phones and social media in the 90s, drunken nights would be captured. What I mean by that is, like, you remember hanging out with your friends, or it may have been you, where somebody's had a little bit too much to drink and now their drinking has become a comedy show because maybe, just maybe, they're telling the craziest jokes, or maybe, just maybe, they are sick and are throwing up everywhere, and it's a sight to see and it's funny. If we had cell phones and social media in the 90s, that could have been documented. There's nothing funnier than people getting drunk and telling you things. As many of you know, or maybe you don't know, I've spoken about it on the podcast. Like, I didn't have my first drink until I was 27, I think. So I was damn near out of the 90s by the time I had my first drink. And so I didn't drink in high school and I didn't drink in college, right? And so it's particularly in college at South Carolina State University, I was the designated driver. So whenever we went to parties, whenever we went to clubs, they always said, hey, KD is going to drive. And here's the thing. You wasn't getting in my car. I would drive any of my friends or my teammates in particular. I would drive their cars. So KD, that's me, would be the designated driver. And so what was always interesting about hanging with my teammates in particular in the 90s was that once they started drinking, these were some of the funniest people you want to be around. And they tell you these stories, and the stories would be like half truth, half lie, whole lie. It didn't matter. Nonetheless, there were no cell phones and no social media, so I couldn't tweet out the jokes, right? I couldn't post pictures on Facebook of, said teammate passed out in the passenger seat, which would have been hilarious to me. But, we just didn't have it then. So it was just different. I think it would have been cool, and to some degree, if you could have documented it, because I think there were a lot of laughs and a lot of jokes there that didn't get told. Well, let me just put it like this. They got told, they just never made it to the masses. I'll put it like that. But so drunken nights, particularly for someone like me who was a designated driver, the drunken nights never got captured because we didn't have cell phones and social media in the 90s. I tell you what, now it's time to take a quick commercial break. Sit tight, and on the other side of the break, we'll come back and I'll give you a few more examples about what would have happened if we had cell phones and social media in the 90s. Sit tight. We'll be back in just a second.
Working across teams is tough, but Asana helps you handle it. That's because Asana is where humans and AI coordinate work together. AI can spot roadblocks and assign work in a snap, so everything and everyone stays on track. That's how work gets handled. That's Asana. Visit us at asana.com. That's ASANA.com.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle. This is the 12 Kyle podcast. And we're talking about what if we had cell phones and social media in the 90s. Before the break, I gave you a couple of examples. We'll give you a few more. Here's the thing. And I'm not speaking from experience, but if we had cell phones and social media in the 90s, it probably would be easier for you to get caught cheating. Again, I wasn't me because I didn't cheat, right? But it probably would be easier for you to get caught. Because here's the thing. Almost, at least the people that I ran with and hung out with, my friends, when I got to college, my football teammates, most of us, most guys, like we had cars that were pretty much easily to be distinguished, right? So, and I'll give you an example. I made mention of this on previous episodes, but my first car that I took to South Carolina State University was a Carolina blue Nissan. It was an 89 Sentra sitting on 13s, right? And sitting on Dan Marino's, and had a little speaker, little factory speaker in the back. And I had a 6-disc changer that I installed up under my car seat. And, it was a dope car. I would be willing to bet that of the roughly 6,000 kids we had on our campus, that was the only light blue, Carolina blue Nissan Sentra on that campus. So if I were dating someone before, and those of you know that I met my wife at college, but before she got there, this was like before she got to school. So if I met someone and it's the 90s and we had cell phones and social media, it would be very easy if I was seeing a young lady who lived in, let's say, I don't know, Truth Hall. And then I was seeing another young lady who lived in Manning Hall. These are two separate girls' dormitories. One is on one end of the campus. The one is on the other end of campus. It would be relatively easy for someone to take a picture of my car and send it to one young lady and say, hey, 12 Kyle is over here. What is he doing over there? He must be seeing someone over there. Or even worse, if I was dating a young lady that lived in Manning Hall, and then let's say seeing another young lady who lived off campus, you didn't want your car to be spotted off campus, because guess what? People talk. Well, a lot of women back then talked. Guys usually wasn't doing a whole bunch of snitching on each other. But you get my point. So if we had cell phones, it would be nothing for someone to take a screenshot or take a picture of my car and post it on Facebook or what have you, or send it or text it to the two girls that I'm seeing. So I think it'd probably be easier for you to get caught cheating. I don't necessarily know that it would be easier to cheat. Well, then again, you know what? If you think about it, it might be a little bit easier to cheat because, you didn't have, back then, you could tell your girlfriend, allegedly, I don't know this to be true, but you could tell your girlfriend, hey, yeah, it's kind of tired. I'm going in, I'm turning in for the night. And it's 10 o'clock and you get off the phone with her. She goes to sleep. You tell her you're going to sleep. And 10:45, you're jumping in your car and taking off campus. It could have happened. And I'm sure that it probably did. So maybe without social media and cell phones in the 90s, maybe it's a little bit easier to get caught. Maybe it's a little bit easier to cheat. Something to think about. Another thing, if we had social media and cell phones, it probably would be a little bit easier to commit crimes, because here's the thing. A lot of times nowadays, these dummies commit crimes and they actually, leave a either paper trail or a digital trail for them to get caught. Let's just, for the sake of saying, let's take it back to 1995. There was a very big national murder case that had happened between a famous athlete and his then ex-wife. If there was cell phones and social media, they probably would have got OJ. They probably would have got him a lot quicker than they did. Because here's the thing. Somebody would have taken a picture of OJ. Somebody would have taken a picture of OJ, sneaking over the wall. Somebody would have taken a picture of OJ allegedly killing those two people that he killed. Allegedly. Or at least that's what they say that he did. And I'm not here to rehash OJ, rest in peace, OJ. But no, and rest in peace, Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. But, if it was the 90s, somebody would have caught that on tape. Somebody would have caught that with their cell phone. Somebody would have posted that on Twitter. Somebody would have whoever. And here's how people are crazy these days. Just imagine for 1 second if you are the person who stumbles upon these two damn near decapitated bodies. And I know that they would have taken a picture and posted it on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram immediately before even calling the cops, because that's what people do. But you wouldn't have done that, in the 90s because we didn't have cell phones and social media. But yeah, I remember probably the first podcast that I actually listened to. It was a podcast called Serial, and Serial. It was about an investigation of a murder, a boyfriend that allegedly had murdered his girlfriend in 1999. The guy's name what was his name? Adnan Syed. And he was accused of killing his then girlfriend, Min Lee. And that sparked national conversation and everything. But one of the things that was very key about the testimony or lack thereof was that Adnan had a cell phone, and they really did a decent job of trying to find where his cell phone was, the cell phone towers where his cell phone was pinging from at the time that they had assumed that his girlfriend was murdered. And they really could not find his whereabouts. But that was one of the first times that I think technology played in an instance where technology had a hand in trying to figure out, this murder or whatever. And they talked about it on the podcast. But again, in the 90s, we had cell phones, but not like that. Not like how we have now in social media. So I think, maybe, just maybe, you might be able to get away with crimes a little bit easier because nobody's documenting anything. And, back then, again, we didn't have cell phones and social media, but, something as simple as taking pictures, right? Because even you heard me in the first segment mention about, Freaknik. While I attended several Freakniks, there's no pictures of me at Freaknik. And, I know that there's a documentary out there, and I'm not in the documentary. I checked. And I'm not in any documentaries. And if you did see me on a documentary about Freaknik, you didn't see me, right? Because I was a good guy at Freaknik. That said, but there were people who had cameras who were, filming and everything like that. But what do we do with our phones now? We take pictures, right? Again, not having cell phones and social media, there would be no pictures because, the only time we took pictures were with Polaroids. Like, you remember you had to take the picture with the Polaroid and then you had to fan it. And then, and then when we moved up with cameras, you had to take a digital picture and then you had to take it to, I don't know, like CVS or Walmart to get the quote unquote film developed. And you couldn't, you couldn't take pictures that were of nudity or that were risque because they wouldn't print them. But yeah, if we had cell phones and social media, we probably would take more pictures. I mean, like, I have quite a few pictures of myself in the 90s, but honestly, I mean, I take more pictures now than I probably ever have or ever will in my lifetime. And that's because I have a cell phone. But if I had a cell phone in the 90s and if we had social media, I definitely would be taking, there definitely would be pictures of me a little bit of everywhere. There would be, digital documentation. The flip side of that is that, honestly, I kind of like the fact that we don't have it. Or didn't have it, I should say. Now, it's kind of a catch-22 because there are times where there are certain events or certain people that I would have loved to have captured moments with them in a picture. Whether it be, football or anything else that happened on my campus. The flip side of it is that, like, in a weird way, like, I kind of just appreciate having those memories. And those memories, in a lot of ways, are even more golden than actually having a picture of it. I always marvel at looking at old photos of people when they post them on social media on, Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday. Those are always good. And I like doing that as well, participating in it. And it's always good to look back at those pictures because, you look at yourself and you look a whole lot different. Now for me, I look at my old pictures and I'm not gray and I don't have, I still got all my hair, but you get the point. But I think I still look the same, but it's just the fact of you're looking at a younger version of yourself. But yeah, back then, I mean, we probably take more pictures if we had cell phones and social media in the 90s. In conclusion, I think it's a really good concept to think about. The 90s was such an explosive decade and so much stuff happened. And again, for me, I went through major milestones and I didn't have social media or cell phones and it was fine. Now, again, there are times where I'm like, yeah, probably not. Now, keep in mind, again, excuse me, we had our first child, our son Dion, in 1999. And I think I would have loved, now, and we have pictures of, him as a baby and, but I would have liked to have taken pictures in the delivery room and things of that nature. I think it's always interesting when you look back on those things because you have those memories. For someone like me, I have a strong memory. So those memories don't go away, or I don't feel like I've lost anything by not having pictures. I just think it would have been kind of cool if we had cell phones and social media in the 90s. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday and every Sunday at midnight. If you're on social media, hit us up. We're everywhere. 12 Kyle across the board. We're on Twitter X. Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky. Follow me there. Instagram, Facebook, Threads, what else? And TikTok. Yeah, we're on TikTok as well. We also have a YouTube channel. Check out the YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe there. Hit the like button, and that way you will get notifications when we drop our episodes. And make sure that you tell a friend. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. And last but not least, we do have a new baby. We have a new baby. It is called the Rap Soul Podcast. It is a podcast that talks about and deals with the intersection of rap and soul music from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. It is the best music podcast you've never heard of. And also, if you'd like to subscribe and contribute to the podcast, you can do that as well. Hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Also, hit the description box. There's a link that says merch. You can buy 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs like the one I'm holding right here. And you can get it for the low. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's. Chill.
Working across teams is tough, but Asana helps you handle it. Asana AI can spot roadblocks and assign work to keep everything on track. That's how work gets handled. Visit us at asana.com.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.